Whoa, stop scrolling. This is an announcement for parents. I want to give you guys a little bit of information about how certain television shows that are targeted towards kids are actually negatively affecting your kids, or can be. First off, a little trigger warning, because clearly I am not a mother. I am a 19-year-old college student with no kids. However, I do have an insane amount of experience working with kids. This experience comes from working in classrooms with my family members. I was a coach. I babysat and nannied like almost my entire life. I've worked at summer camps. I've worked at VBS, like a ton. My entire life has been surrounded with kids. And with that, I've gotten to see the firsthand effects of television on the kids that I've worked with. Now, this isn't a blanket over all kids. However, there is some science that backs up the claims that I'm making in this video. So stick around and listen to just a little bit more. Okay, so I want to give you guys, to start off, with a little bit of scientific background to better understand where my information is coming from. So the main study that I focused on for this paper was a study done by the University of Virginia, and this was done to better understand the effects overall of fast-paced television on small children. So the children in this study were 4 years old. They had a group of 60 of them come in. They divided them in three. They had one group watch fast-paced television. I believe the show was SpongeBob. They had another group watch a slow-paced television, Caillou, and the third group colored. And then after they did that for 9 minutes, so not a very long time at all, they tested the children's executive function, which this is self-monitoring, task initiation, organization, impulse control, emotional control, planning, flexible thinking, and working memory. All of these things were dramatically affected for the group of 4-year-olds that watched 9 minutes of fast-paced television. So what does this mean? Basically, when kids are watching television, they're relying heavily, if not primarily, on their sensory input processing. So with television in mind, this is what they're hearing and what they're seeing. And this is all fine and dandy until we get to fast-paced television. So this is when the screen is physically moving fast and the show progression is also moving fast. So when these kids are trying to process what they're hearing and what they're seeing on the screen, they're falling behind because there's simply too much to hear and too much to see. And then we get to the problem when they're still trying to process that information as new information is being given to them. So this basically like shuts off their brain. They do not know how to connect to other parts of their brain, especially their prefrontal cortex, and they're only relying on processing as much information as they can with kind of no end in sight. So, while this study is focused on 4-year-olds, it doesn't only apply to 4-year-olds. I've gotten to experience this in a variety of different age groups with a distinct difference in students that are under 10 years old. So when they're under 10 and their brain is still rapidly developing, that's when I personally have seen these problems. But with that, it's also important to note that development isn't linear, so it looks different for every kid. And it also doesn't follow a straight path, meaning there's some push and pull. So each child is at a different level and they will always be at a different level. That's where my job comes in, because I'm trying to give you guys this information so that you can take it and implement it where needed / where wanted for your own children. Okay, I know that video was a little bit longer than expected, but thank you for sticking around and listening to what I have to say. In the next video, I'm going to give you guys some tools that might be useful for you to be able to identify these triggers within your kids' shows.